Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Portadown Preview Show, the first edition of the 2021-2022 season. I'm Neil, and as always, I'm joined by Dave Wiggins. Dave, it's great to see you again. Did you have a good summer?
Yeah, having a good summer. I told my children today the summer is not officially over until the 31st of October this year, so we're just going to drag it out. And so much so that it took them to Let's Grow Hydro in the early evening in Belfast, which was brilliant. Potential podcast sponsors, maybe, I don't know. Let's Go Hydro, a wonderful place. They've even got a football pitch that floats on water. Did you know that?
No, I've actually never been to it, surprisingly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's on the bucket list.
Yeah, no, it's good fun.
Oh, very good. So tonight we are joined by a man who is making history on the Preview Show, as he is the first guest to make 3 appearances on the show. We're delighted to be joined by Michael Clarke. Michael, thanks for coming on the show. How are you keeping?
I'm doing very well. I mean, I'm just trying to fight back the tears here. Obviously emotional at this great honor, but it's a pleasure to be back.
I mean, this, interviewing Ian Barclough, Northern Ireland manager, this afternoon and spending your evening with us two guys, it's just a great day for you, really.
It's a Dear Diary moment for sure.
What number podcast? Neil, was starting again. Is this number 1 preview show?
No, I was just thinking, I just said it was the first edition of this season because I'll be completely honest with you, I can't remember the exact number off the top of my head. I need to double check that. So
I think we go season 2, episode 1.
Yes, this is the second series.
Yeah.
This is the second series. So series 2, episode 1 of the preview show. So obviously it's a new season, new signings, new kits, and new hope. And this weekend, Portadown kick off on Friday night against our Mid-Ulster rivals, Linfield Reserves. Glenavon. Dave, obviously it's a big game to kick off the season, and the second year in a row. And we welcome Glenavon to Shamrock Park. I'm sure it's a game you're really looking forward to. And what are your thoughts on the game ahead?
I don't even want to talk about the game yet, to be honest. You mentioned new kits and then just steamrollered right past the fact that you were the guiding light of getting us a yellow kit this year. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much. It is a masterpiece.
It is. How do you like the red one?
Oh, do you know what? I'm really thrilled with it. Like it's
that's good. You look buff in it, like.
Oh, thank you very much. My girlfriend was actually saying she actually thinks this one's nicer than the yellow one. So
controversial.
Controversial indeed. But no, It's a thumbs up all around for both kits for me.
I know, absolutely. And my child bought his with his own money, so it didn't cost me anything, which was even better. Although I think I probably gave him that money in the first place over the last year. But anyway, yes, Friday night at home to Glenavon. Can't wait. What a start to the season. It's been a bit of a long summer. Everybody's had a good break, but I think we're ready for football again, aren't we? And to have Glenavon coming to Shamrock Park, and it's going to be the first big crowd, really, isn't it, for a long, long time? And that's just special. There was matches last year that maybe you or I got to do a bit of commentating or something like that, where there was, and Michael, you might have even been in the stadium at Shamrock Park, when there was maybe a last-minute winner scored against a big team. And while you're bussing to celebrate, you want everybody running forward. That feeling of the whole stadium celebrating a goal is something special. So hopefully we get that feeling on Friday night. But not to say it's going to be an easy match, is it? You've already alluded to the fact that Glenavon have made some very strong signings of some high quality Irish League footballers who've been there and done it for years. So I think Glenavon will be stronger than they were last year. So it's going to be a big game. It's going to be an uphill task. But I'm absolutely buzzing for it. I think all Irish League matches should be played on a Friday night, and we should all get our weekends off. So Friday night, floodlights will probably be on for the second half. It's going to be nice. And there's a lot of people I've been talking to who maybe haven't been to a match for a long time. And even before, restrictions and everything, maybe hadn't been for a while. And there's a lot of people busting to get back to watch their local football team. So I'm excited about that, yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, I would echo that sentiment exactly. Michael, like Dave's already alluded to, the fans are going to be back in far greater numbers this Friday, and all weekend in general, around the Irish League. Surely as a commentator, that gives you a buzz that there are going to be people within the stands.
Well, it makes my job so much easier because supporters are the perfect soundtrack to any event, really. And, if you're listening on the radio, you don't even need to hear the words being spoken. You can hear that volume underneath and right away what way the game's going. And to be honest with TV commentary too, because we speak a little bit less. So when a big goal goes in, we tend to try and stay quiet and let that come across. When there's no fans in, that silence is eerie, so you have to fill it. So you're actually reverse engineering how you would normally work. It's all a bit surreal. On that point, I was interested to know how you guys felt, stepping in and being commentators last season, because I have so much admiration for anybody that did that for the clubs. I know how scary it is to do, and in empty stadiums when all of a sudden your own manager, your own players, and even worse, the opposition can hear what you're saying. How did you manage it?
Well, you know what? I enjoyed it. I just hope people that were listening to it enjoyed it. So the only disappointing thing was that Portadown actually got beat that day, but it was great to be sitting alongside Richard Clarke, who is a Portadown legend and has managed before and knows what he's talking about. So that made it all the easier, I suppose. But it is daunting because, you say, you're trying to fill the time and stuff, and you don't know when to speak and when not to speak, and I'm trying to work all that out. So kudos to anyone that actually does it. But Dave, you got sort of I think it's sort of like the main commentary moment of the season, because you got that last minute winner against Larne there last season. So I'm sure it was a bit more of a buzz for you than it was for me, because we lost the day I did it.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. Well, fair play to Mark Beattie, first of all. Those guys set up the whole thing, and then Mark, I'm sure he was really nervous, but he was the first person to do one of the live matches, and he just had a go, actually. And I learned plenty from listening to him as well. But Michael, I think when you've listened to you guys doing commentary on the radio and TV, you sort of, and then you've maybe done a match, you can really appreciate, the work and effort that you guys put into it. And then when I had done my first match, and then you maybe listen to a match from the professional guys like yourselves, you pick up a few wee things and you try and add them into your own commentary. But at the end of the day, we were fans commentating on our own team's matches. So it was always going to be, and it's always slightly biased. You try and, appreciate the opposition's nice move or goal. But at the end of the day, you want your team to win the match. But Neil, you already had good experience because you're assistant to the stadium announcer, aren't you? When Big Stevie Wright's unavailable, you've already had that opportunity on the microphone, isn't that right?
Yeah, but again, it was weird because there was no fans there. It was really strange. So it's not the same. It would be great to be able to have the opportunity to do it when everybody's there. And then obviously, if to score a goal, you can sort of rally the troops, I suppose. But I mean, if it's an empty stadium and there's just a handful of delegates there from Niffle, it's just like goal score for Portadown, number 10 Lee bonus. You can't really whip everyone up into a frenzy. So,
but what I enjoyed about those was you had the announcements, which were pretty much telling everyone, the ones, be on your best behavior. We won't tolerate any naughtiness.
Sectarianism.
Yeah. And there's 20 people there and they're all directors. And you're thinking, this is a bit pointed at this stage.
I love that every time. Yeah. But Neil, you were saying about, and Michael, obviously you share commentary with lots of Irish League legends and people like that. And you were saying about Richie Clarke, I sat beside Peter Kennedy and Peter McCann and Philip Major and all of that. And so you're sitting there just flip me, I can't believe I'm just sitting here, in your head, you're making friends with these guys, but they're there to give their time and do a job. And that's been really enjoyable, actually. So it's been an experience. I'm not sure how long the streaming will last. And Michael, we were just talking before, I know that the streaming will be happening again this season for as long as it's needed or necessary. So we'll see how those go. But it's just been something extra for the clubs while fans were away. I always look on it as a personal opportunity just to try something new. And while you're nervous and everything, sure, you give it a go. What is there to lose? And I know you're right. There's been fans from clubs all around the country who've done that this year, and it's been a nice experience for them. But the overriding factor is probably the professionals in Northern Ireland, like yourself, do a really good job, and there's a lot more probably research and effort that goes into it than just turning up, taking your microphone out of the bag and just talking, So we appreciate you for doing that, and all the other guys as well. So.
Oh, no, thank you. I mean, I just love other people getting an opportunity to be a commentator because it's what I wanted to do since I was a kid. And I was lucky I won a BBC talent search, what feels like a million years ago now. And, I've done hundreds of games, over 400 matches. So, and my first game wasn't perfect by any means. Hopefully someone on the BBC's lost the tape. But you have to start somewhere, and I just take my hat off, if I had one on, for all the people that have picked up a microphone this season. Just give it a go, because there's been some amazing games, and they've been there experiencing them and heightening the experience for those that couldn't be there.
But should there be 1,400 commentators and 1,400 referees back in on Friday night, so everybody's getting a go, aren't they?
Oh, love it.
And they won't need a microphone.
I miss all the heckling. I don't know if the referees do, but it's just so funny. Some of the things that you hear in football grounds anywhere, but Irish League fans can be particularly creative and colourful.
Give us your favourite one, your non-crude one, like.
Well, that's I'm not saying I endorse this message, but I heard somebody in a football ground once shout, "His dad has guns," which is just a really wonderful snapshot of some of the people that attend games in Northern Ireland. Yeah. I won't say where or when, it was a while ago, but that was I certainly was staying away from him after.
Absolutely, that's a cracker. My favourite is whenever a player climbs on the opposing player's back and some out-of-bounds shouts, "Give him a ride on it." That's my personal favourite,
And then there's the "I know where you live" ref, which you're hoping's a joke.
Well, there's a Portadown supporter whose brother is an Irish League linesman, and actually the last time he was at Shamrock Park, his own brother was shouting, "I know where you live." So that's where you go. Neil, have you got a favourite?
The list is endless. I'm trying to think of there's been a few moments I remember. I'll not name names, but I always remember playing Glentoran at Shamrock Park, and obviously when the players came out of the old grandstand, and there was the window you could see into the tunnel, and a certain Portadown fan, he knocked the window because Alan Snoddy was standing in the window, and just knocked the window and goes, "You're a clown, Snoddy," like that there, and Snoddy was just looking at him totally bemused. Alan Snoddy, the referee, former referee, obviously. That always sticks in my head. But there's been that many.
Does this supporter live in North Down at all? It sounds like that, to be honest.
You've just reminded me of a conversation. There was 2 Linfield fans in the old Windsor Park when the renovations were going on, and the supporters were right in front of our commentary position. And one of the players says, "He should have taken his chance." And his mate turns around him and goes, "Tooken's a bird, you idiot." And I don't know why, I just remember that. It just made me laugh. He was so offended by the poor grammar.
I've never heard that comeback before. It's a classic, absolute classic.
You see now, obviously, we're talking about things now, coming from the fans, and that's so good that obviously the fans will be back in this weekend, so you can expect more of this. Because just you're talking about funny moments. I remember one years ago, I was about 7, and Portadown were playing away to Crusaders at Seaview. And do you remember in the old away stand at Seaview, it was half and half, and you had the metal girder in the middle. And I always remember the door that you could walk through swung open, and there was a bit of burbles going on. This Portadown fan was slobbering, and suddenly the steward disappeared, and the door swung open, and this guy ran in and biffed the Portadown fan, sent them flying, and then ran back into the Crusaders. And there was a big cheer and all, but it was actually really funny. I just always remember that as a kid. But nice. It's the fans that make it at the end of the day. And I mean, last season was a surreal experience for everybody.
Can you imagine the pent up, frustrated shouting that there's going to be on Friday night? It's going to be wisecracks on steroids. It's going to be times 10. People just getting stuff off their chest.
Oh, here I can imagine.
Take your hair, you race referee.
The Glenavon game coming up here is probably like the ideal fixture to kick the season off with a bang because, like, no disrespect, but if you're playing maybe a club that's not necessarily a rival, Portadown, it mightn't maybe have the same feel, but obviously it's going to get the town of Portadown buzzing, Lurgan buzzing, because like it's their two biggest rivals. And I've already seen Glenavon fans mouthing about coming down. I've seen Portadown fans mouthing about playing Glenavon. It's great to see. I can't wait.
And because it's on a Friday night, then you've got all the guys, like there's hundreds of Portadown supporters who play football every Saturday afternoon for local teams. So because it's on a Friday night, you've potential there for a couple of hundred more people than might usually come in. And, will we put on a good show? I don't know. Sometimes in bigger matches, I don't know, with big expectations, Portadown maybe just don't do the business, but I'm sure the players are just buzzing for it as well. You're talking about local boys as well, Oisin Connolly, Lee Bonus, Luke Wilson if he wasn't injured, but those guys, local guys, and the rest, all the boys who maybe came in at the start of last season who haven't played in front of a proper crowd. They'll just be dying for it, and it'll be a great experience and a great night for everybody. And the fans will have somebody to sing to. Opposing fans will actually sing things at each other, which will be flip. I'm getting excited for it now. Yeah. What do you think we'll do, Neil?
Well, we'll get into that in a wee second. You're talking about expectations here because I don't think there's any pressure. Well, obviously there's pressure because you want to win your first game and stuff. But I actually think there's more pressure in Glenavon going into this game because, like we already alluded to, they've made a few big signings, big experienced players, and they'll be expected to deliver and they'll be expected to really push for top six this season. So I think the pressure's on. Michael, obviously you'll have covered Glenavon a fair bit over the last few years. What do you make of their signings this summer?
They've strengthened really well, haven't they? Hockey, Stafford, Waterworth, Matthew Snoddy, as I found out at the tail end of last season, is staying on with them. He made that loan deal a permanent move. So there's that. Plus Josh Doyle, who's only 18. I think he's a really good young striker as well. I've heard some good things about him, seen glimpses of him, and I think he's had a decent pre-season. So they've plenty of firepower. That added to what they already have, and Perkis had a very strong campaign. I actually think Perkis and Bonus got the same amount of goals, so maybe you can have a Middlester competition as to who's the top league scorer between those two very exciting younger talents. But Glenavon last season were really disappointing for a large portion of the campaign, and no one ever thought they were challenging for the top half very quickly into the season, which really, it's a bit of a letdown, I think, from their point of view. This time around, looking at the players, you've every right to be optimistic if you're a Glenavon fan. And I think, as you say, there will be a degree of pressure there because if you recruit strongly, then people expect the results to be more consistent and improve. And added to the players they've already got in that squad, like the McCloskeys. I'm just thinking of Connor McCloskey now having an Andy Waterworth to hit with his crosses. How many more points could that get you a season right away?
I think the key with Glenavon was they shipped a lot of goals. I've listened to a few interviews with Sean Ward, who's obviously a very experienced player, and he was saying their defending wasn't good enough. And obviously now they've got the two boys in from Linfield, which will strengthen them at the back massively. And I think that's why I think there's a lot of pressure on Glenavon going into this game because they'll be expected to get up and running early doors, especially if they want to push. Well, Cliftonville and Crusaders specifically, like to get into that top six. We'll move on. We'll move on, Dave, here to Portadown. Obviously, there's been a fair few signs have come in. We've got two new goalkeepers. Obviously, Harry Doherty's came in. Jethro Bars came in. Michael Ruddy's obviously came in, an experienced left back. Sammy McLeod and Oren Jackson, and then Harry Anderson has made the return to Portadown. So, what do you make of our new signings then through pre-season?
I got to some pre-season matches, so obviously we haven't seen the big South African goalkeeper yet. I haven't even seen a YouTube reel. Usually we see a YouTube reel of a Portadown goalkeeper in recent seasons.
There is one. There is one on there.
Send me that later, will you?
I will.
Is he any good?
his kicking is very good.
Right.
That was one thing I noticed on it. Like so. Mm-hmm.
So you can't tell. You should see my YouTube reel. It's class. Like I've only put in my best goals and my best saves in the back garden. So yeah. Harry Doherty's been assured in pre-season. I think he's done very well. He probably has something to prove. Obviously, he's been at a couple of clubs in the Irish League. I think hasn't he got an Irish Cup winners medal with Crusaders against Ballinamallard?
Yep.
I think he played that match as well. So he's no dozer. And then we've brought in Jethrin Barr. So I think that's going to be what you want. You want two good goalkeepers in your squad, and that's what we have now. By all accounts, Jethrin's been playing at a high level in South Africa. He's South Africa international up through 18s, 20, 23. So he's obviously a good goalkeeper. And he's got a British passport. So, I think like all players, they come to maybe playing in Britain somewhere is probably the pinnacle on trying to get to Scotland or England or maybe into Europe somewhere. So if like anything, if he does well for us, he puts himself in the shop window. And if he's got a British passport, then that gives him every opportunity. So goalkeepers, it's good to get two goalkeepers in. Who else do we bring in? Sammy McLeod. He's looked good in pre-season. He's kind of energetic, does a lot of running, breaking things up, getting the ball moving. Looks like Finney Arkins, so there's nothing wrong with that at all. He's got blonde curtains. So now my son is now trying to grow a pair of curtains, and he says, well, if Sammy McLeod and Jack Grealish can do it, so can I. I think probably Sammy is a starter in centre midfield by all accounts. He's got good pedigree, still quite young, but he's very energetic, gets around. You notice him in a match. Haven't seen too much of Oren Jackson. I think he played a bit down at Cumber when I watched that day. But he said himself in a recent interview, he's got a niggly little injury there in pre-season, so they're probably protecting him a little bit. I think he's a centre back, but also can maybe play centre midfield as well. Who else have we got? Who else?
Michael
Ruddy. Michael Ruddy. The most impressive thing about Michael Ruddy is his six-pack. He took off his shirt as he was walking off the pitch the other night, and I flip me, lad, you're working hard on that. So he's another experienced Irish League player, quality left back, can get up and down, can cross the ball, good strong tackler, and I think probably the fans will really take to him as well.
Hits a good penalty too.
Ooh. Controversial, Michael.
I was on commentary for that, so yeah, you don't need to remind me. I seem to be everywhere. Crusaders had unfortunate penalty scenarios last season. They'll be hoping that was very much something that can leave in the past now. Michael Ruddy, it's an interesting one because that night he missed the penalty. It was, what a moment to sort of leave the club on. And I'd asked Stephen Baxter after the game what his thoughts were on Michael Ruddy, because the rumours were that he was leaving, and I'd heard that he was very strongly linked to Portadown if it was sort of nearly there type thing. And he said they were going to try and keep him. So obviously in the end, the decision's been made by all parties, and he's a Portadown player. And I think it's a smart bit of business from Matthew Tipton, who tends to be able to pick up, players that have a point to prove and some exciting young players and try and get that mix. And there's nobody that would say Portadown did not surpass expectations in the previous season. So now it's there's maybe a bit of pressure there because reasonable people would go, well, look, they punched above their weight, they finished higher than you expected. It doesn't necessarily go like that every year, but football fans aren't what I've just described. Football fans go, well, last season we did this, so we need to kick on, and we'll somehow all of a sudden be going, we should finish sixth. And I think that's a tall ask for Portadown this season. So Matthew Tipton hasn't sponsored this message, but he probably would. It's give them a bit of time to bet in those new players. But I think Ruddy's a smart signing, and I'm delighted to know, Dave, that you're pleased with his six-pack there. You've sold a few more tickets already.
Absolutely. The ladies will be all queuing up to buy their tickets. But there's other players like young O'Sheen, I think, he will feel like he didn't play as much last season. He's sort of breaking into the squad. I could see him playing a bit more this season. So there's a player who's already been around, who's young, who's from Portadown, who I could see doing very well this year. Lee Bonus, he looks as strong as ever. He's just one of those players. See, even in pre-season, like Eden Reds ran a bus down to Monaghan United a few Saturdays ago. And you're playing Monaghan United, who, no disrespect, they used to be a League of Ireland team. Nice wee setup down there, good wee stand and everything. Social club's pretty decent too. But they play in the Monaghan and Cavan District League now, so it wasn't like Lee Bonus was just playing as if it was Glenavon. There's no filter there when it comes to just trying your hardest. I think Adam Sally looks really sharp. We played Coleraine. I was up at the Caravan up north, and I went down. We played Coleraine down at Moyola Park, wherever that is, Tobermore, Desert Martin, somewhere like that. I don't really know. Somewhere down the left-hand side of Lough Neagh. But we beat Coleraine 1-0 that night, and I thought we played really, really well and looked really strong. Harry Anderson started up front. He's got something to prove. I think the thing with Harry, Harry's only 17 or 18. He's maybe 18, just coming back from England. So maybe just we need to be patient with Harry there. He's a boy playing a man's game, and it might take him a little while, but he's a good striker as well. So I think things look okay. I would bite your hand off for 9th place again. I would settle for 10th. You would hope maybe that you could maybe push on and finish in a 7th or something like that. But I'm a realist. 9th last year, I think we all wanted to finish at least 10th. So to finish 9th was great. If we could do that again this season and then build from there, it would be really nice. And all of those young players are another year experienced in the league. So,
and you're just relieved to still have Lee Bonus, because face it, after last season, everybody was going, right, who's going to buy him? Because someone's going to have to come in. This is how football works. And he's still your player. So I imagine you're quite happy. I thought you'd be playing down his abilities now. Like when Northern Ireland fans realised Michael O'Neill would probably be leaving soon, everyone just started,
he's rubbish. He's rubbish. Nah,
he's rubbish. You don't want him.
He's rubbish. I just think in the Irish League, you'd be wrong to ever stand in anyone's way. Personally, I would hate to see him going to any Irish League team apart from one that I wouldn't mention on here. But if you got the opportunity to play a full-time football and get more experience and develop his game, but at the same time, it would be disrespectful to Matthew and David and Trevor and Chris and Simon and the other coaches to say he's not developing at Portadown, because he is. He's come in and developed even further, and he looks strong and sharp and everything this season as well. And there's other players that we haven't mentioned as well. Chris Lavery's still there, and when he comes on, he still looks the player who can put in a good cross. We have had a trialist sort of playing left midfield the last couple of weeks as well. Don't know what's happening there. He looks all right as well. I think he's maybe come back from England as well. And then you have a young Reece Jordan and Harry Murphy and Sam Glenfield, who are maybe at the stage where O'Sheen was last year, where they're just breaking into the first team squad, who are good young players as well. And I think with the potential for 5 substitutes this season, I think it gives guys every opportunity to, the 5 substitute thing is the biggest load of cake that I've ever heard of, but it gives young players more opportunity to be sitting on a bench and to be included in first team squads. And there may be even 7 substitutes, but you're allowed to bring 5 on. Michael,
I would just like there to be 3 substitutes again, personally. It's a nightmare for a commentator, as you now both know, when teams make loads of changes. Doing the Super Cup games the other week, Man United against 3 of the Irish League teams over the course of a week, and I'll just make 11 changes at the break. Thank you, said no commentator ever.
Yeah. So I think there's maybe 7 subs on the bench, and you can bring 5 on, but you can only bring them on in 3 batches. So you couldn't bring on 5 individual subs, but you could bring on 2 and a 1 and a 2, or what are the other combinations? A 3 and a 1 and a 1, or So it's a wee bit complicated. To me, it waters it down a little bit, but it's also a sign of getting old when you complain about things like this. I remember talking to some of the Isle boys who'd be like, "See, in May Day, you just rocked up a quarter to 3. There was none of this warm up. You just had a cup of tea, and there was 11 players. And if you get injured, you play it on, and that was that."
And they would have been really happy with Burnley the other day, wouldn't they? Going 4-4-2, 1-11. I mean, what a beautiful thing.
Yes, Hullball, our kit manager, he tweeted that he was delighted. 1-11, unbelievable, the way it should be, and that's a sign that Jason's getting old as well. So.
And not even just 1-11, but the 1-11 were actually in proper positions, not like the number 3 playing in midfield. It was proper old school, 10 and 9 up front.
Primary school stuff. Names and shirts, though. Names and shirts. That is unbelievable. That's class.
Momentous. But you're talking there about, playing it down. No, I'm going the other way. Lee Bonus, get the goals in again, son, because I put you in my fantasy team again. And I also put in a surprise package because he's been banging them in pre-season. Ruddy Crossgray.
I forgot about Ruddy. I had written this down earlier. He's like a new signing, Michael. When you see him play, his name will feature, I believe, a lot this season. And I was thinking, he came in at the start of last season, maybe bigger expectations and all of that. He obviously played for Manchester United. He'd been over in America. But this year, he's got the haircut. I always like to see that. He looks sharp. He looks leaner. He's faster. He scored 5 goals. He's provided a lot of assists. I actually think that he will feel like a new signing for us this season as well. So, let's finish 7th.
Talking about realistic expectations, I agree entirely with what you already said there. I think for Portadown this season, if they could consolidate 9th and then also close the gap to 8th, because the gap was massive. It was like 30 odd points. It was ridiculous. But to be fair, at the start of last season, you bit your hand off for 9th, absolutely, and they've done it. So I think 9th again would be a good season, and hopefully the gap's closed. And on top of that, now there's obviously last season they didn't have the League Cup, but this season it'll be back, and we're playing Newington here in a few weeks. And I think the opportunities there, Portadown could finish 9th and have a couple of cup runs. I think that would be a good return for the season, if I'm perfectly honest.
Especially the League Cup, I think you win. If you win 2 matches, you're in the quarterfinal. It might even, I think you win 2 matches, you're in a quarterfinal, and then all of a sudden, you just don't know.
That's the thing, you don't know. Like, last season, big. I know obviously with a few big games, we came short, but towards the end of the season, we beat Larne. We drew games with Crusaders. We drew with Cliftonville as well. I know it's not winning, but it shows we can compete with them, and then. Obviously, we beat Glenavon a couple of times last season. So, I'd be confident. Teams wouldn't want to come down to play Portadown in like a midweek game, down at Shamrock Park. So,
I told Matthew recently that I'm 42. If I could see Portadown win the Irish Cup once more in my lifetime, I would die happy. So, there you go.
Well, there you go. No pressure. We already obviously touched on Michael Ruddy there. He's came from Crusaders, and obviously the Glenavon games this Friday. When it's out of the way, we travel to Seaview next Tuesday in game week 2 of the Irish League. Crusaders, Michael, are having a bit of off the field problems at the minute. Do you think this could be a good opportunity for Portadown to go there?
Yeah, a lot of changes. Their joint top scorer in the league last season's left the club, Jamie McGonigal. He was tied with Paul Heatley on only 10 goals, which maybe surprises some people. It certainly surprised me when I looked at it. You don't normally expect that to be the big number there. So it was a really, really frustrating time for Crusaders fans, and the frustration came across. And then, not to labour the point on the penalty shootouts and what happened in those, but they were thinking, well, maybe at least we can win the Irish Cup, and then, okay, that hasn't happened. Well, maybe we can still qualify for Europe, and I think not qualifying for Europe massively hampers what they're planning to do. Naturally, it would do, because now you have to cut your cloth accordingly. Keeping Jordan Forsyth on, really good bit of business there, because there was obviously rumours that he might have been moving across Belfast. There was suitors slightly outside of Belfast as well. So keeping him is good. They've added as well, but people are kind of looking and going, what is the forward pairing going to look like there, and what sort of shape are they going to line up in? I think Philip Lowry's out for a couple of weeks here, injured, from what I understand. So that's good news if you're Portadown coming into that game as well, because he's one of the first names on the team sheet, and he's an amazing player, as is his brother Stephen, of course. But I really don't know what to expect from Crusaders, and they, in many ways, have a lot to prove right from the get-go, because there's a fear that they could be sixth or slipping down the way, rather than showing the potential of climbing up, if you base it solely on names on paper, which is always foolish to do, and yet all of us do this at this point in the, as we just get ready for a new domestic campaign, we all look down the list and go, right, well, who's moving where? It's hard to see Crusaders getting above Linfield, Glentoran and Larne. Hard to see them getting above Coleraine potentially. So then will they edge past Cliftonville? And Cliftonville have recruited very well. We know Glenavon have improved. There's been so many changes at Ballymena. So they're kind of, I think, getting slightly cut away from the main pack, which they were a big part of for a long period of time. And they can't afford a banana peel, which, Portadown would be still seen as. When you went to Seaview, you got done 5-0, so I'm sure that win's still fresh. So we're not talking about Crusaders being has-beens or the club of yesteryear, but they're certainly not in the peak moment in their history either. This is an opportunity for Portadown to go and to find them out whilst new players are trying to settle in, but it won't be easy, and Crusaders will still be favourites for that match.
Yeah, I think Crusaders as well. Some of their bigger players over the last number of years, because of age and maybe some niggling injuries, are, they're over that peak of their career and they're kind of going in that direction. So I totally agree. I think Crusaders might struggle to stay in the top half of the league this season, maybe to be replaced by Glenavon or someone. Depends how Ballymena click as well. You just don't know.
Careful, Dave, don't be saying that. Potsy might get really upset with you saying that now.
He'll be all right. He knows the crack.
He does.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it'll be a tough match away at Crusaders as well. And obviously, Crusaders are well used to playing in their own stadium. They're used to playing on their own 4G every other week. So it's a different thing going down there. We always have a mixed bag of results down there. Sometimes we get absolutely thumped, and sometimes we come away with a 2-2 draw or a narrow victory. So who knows what might happen? But it's I've got that feeling of the season so close now, and then to have 2 matches in 4 days to start it off as usual is just brilliant. Do
you know the game away to Crusaders next week? I'm genuinely really looking forward to it, because Seaview's always been one of my favourite away grounds ever since I've been watching Portadown since a kid. I've always liked Seaview because you're close to the pitch and stuff. So I'm really looking forward to going up there and playing, and obviously it'll be the official debut of the new away kit, Dave.
Absolutely. Although I haven't heard anything about tickets for Tuesday night yet, and we're recording this on, what day is this? Tuesday night. So,
obviously, I've already mentioned Potsy. I always get the daily lowdown as what's going on up there, but there's quite a few disgruntled Crusaders fans who are refusing to renew their season tickets for a variety of different reasons. So I don't know if that means it'll be more open to away fans getting there or not, because if off the field a lot of people are throwing their season ticket back, it might mean they're going to be desperate to get as many people in as they can for the money. So it's an interesting game, because it is their first home game of the season, and obviously they'll want to. Now, Michael, you're going to their game on Saturday here against Linfield. If they were to lose that, they're obviously going to want to bounce back, and I know that Seaview at the minute is a bit of a powder keg. So that's what I'm asking, do you think it could be a good time to play them, where if things are going wrong, if fans are getting on their back, could it be an opportunity, to pull something out of the bag? But again, on their day, Crusaders can beat anybody. Let's just make that crystal clear right now. And
that's
it will be
that's the sort of thing people will speculate on, and obviously people have different opinions on signing Josh Robinson, given what happened there in the not too distant past. The fact of the matter is he's a Crusaders player now. He is not the first Irish League player to sign for a club, be met with mass amounts of criticism, and actually end up doing really well, and all of a sudden everything else is forgotten about. So, football fans are fickle. I'm not telling anybody something that they're not aware of. If he plays well, they can see fewer goals, and he chips in with the headers that we know he can score. Josh Robinson goes to becoming, a fan favourite from the Boo Boys' favourite in a matter of weeks. So he needs to play well from the very first minute. They have enough players to deal with that. You see all the stuff off the pitch about some supporters are unhappy and people are maybe disgruntled. Well, if they're not there, they're not going to have a negative influence on those players on the pitch anyway. So there's that. So maybe the people that'll be there will be the people who feel like they need to back the manager or the players more. They have been subject to so much more scrutiny than they're used to, and they're going to need to stand up to it. It could be a long, hard season for Crusaders, but I still think you'd be stupid to back against them, especially in a home match.
Yeah,
I couldn't agree more. I think I said it before when we talked about Portadown playing Crusaders last season. I think that Stephen Baxter has been a victim of his own success, and I think a lot of the Crusaders fans are spoiled brats. So, yeah, you got to move with the times, and we'll see what happens. Like,
tell us what you really think, Neil.
No, and there's definitely no spoiled brats in any other Irish League club. Sure, there's not.
No. Listen, Michael's right. Football fans are fickle, but you only need to look at certain clubs over across the water, and you got to be very careful what you wish for. Like, so, I think that for me, just personally, if I was looking outside, looking in, I just think that's the case there. Like, but on their day, they're dangerous and can beat anybody. Like, so
hopefully before this goes out, we'll know about tickets for Seaview away. And listen, there's plenty of room around Seaview for our fans and their fans, even spread out. So I don't think it should be a problem. It just came into my head that I hadn't heard anything yet about tickets. So maybe it'll be pay at the gate. I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out. I'm sure we'll know before this.
Well, is there no bridge or something for us to stand on? Is it just up the road? You can look into the ground now. Memories of Taylor's Avenue last season, standing on that stupid bridge. But we'll wrap it up here, Michael. If there's anything you're looking forward to, in particularly for this season,
do you know what? The cliche and obvious thing is the title race. So I'm going to go the other way. I'm looking forward to the relegation battle, because how much better is football with promotion and relegation? And thank goodness it is back. Teams in the Championship are now elite. After so long of campaigning and so many false dawns, they now have the chance to get into the Premiership, and they've got off to a great start in that season with so many goals. It's actually been ridiculous. I think it might have converted a few people in the last couple of weeks just to go to games now that they have the chance to do that again and go, I'll pick up a second team, because frankly, we were starved of local football for so long. But now, it means Dungannon and Carrick, Rangers, Warrenpoint, whoever you think those teams down towards the bottom are going to be this time round. They were the teams last time round. They need to get themselves out of that precarious position, and they can't rest on their laurels, and the pressure is now on. So, people were given plaudits out about, they're playing lovely football, but playing lovely football in the game where it doesn't really matter if you lose is one thing. How are you going to play in a game that you can't afford to lose, because it could relegate the club? It could, financially hamstring you. Those sort of things that we're used to seeing, we didn't see. That's back, and it will be fascinating to watch how that goes. So I'm actually looking forward to the relegation battle this year to see just how much football changes, and will the clubs perform differently. We saw Carrick Rangers go to Seaview and win, and Johnny Fraser, who's now a Crusaders player, had the game of his life. Could Carrick afford to be as expansive and daring and attacking away from home when they could be in a relegation battle in normal times? I don't know. Different manager now as well, Stuart King, so he might have a different answer than what Niall Curry does. It's all if, ands, or buts, but that is what I can't wait to see, how that shapes up, and matches that mean something right down the league instead of, unfortunately, when there's no relegation, certain matches just don't matter as much.
Yeah. I tell you what, like, I mean, all the teams, you know, I don't know what, I think this season could be the tightest ever from top to bottom, because all the teams, even down the bottom six, they've all strengthened. They've all, and like you use Carrick as an example, they've made some smashing signings, in my opinion. Obviously Dungannon, Dean Shields will have not like sort of half a season, you know, behind him now. Warren Point have made some decent experienced signings as well. Obviously, we have strengthened. Ballymena, like, I mean, it's gonna. I think it promises to be a brilliant season from top to bottom. But yeah, Dave, any final thoughts here before we wrap it up?
I don't care about the top half of the table. It's all about the bottom six. You know, I think what Michael says is right. You know, promotion, relegation. Our players didn't have pressure actually last season, and even though we finished ninth and did very well, there wasn't that pressure of, you know, if I lose, what's going to happen? And we got some terrific results towards the tail end of the season. So there's that little bit of pressure in players this year. Last year was a free season, but this year, you know, everybody needs to be. There's less room for silly mistakes and, like Michael said, you know, playing nice football but not scoring goals. What's the point? Like, you got to put the ball in the back of the net, and you have to defend, and you have to accumulate as many points as possible as fast as you can. And I would like to see us accumulate, 3 or 4 points this weekend. You know, can't wait for it. It's just great to have fans back, and people texting me all the time. People who haven't been at a match for a long time, just really looking forward to Friday night, asking me when the tickets were going on general sale and everything. So I think it's going to be nice. I think it'll almost feel like a Boxing Day match probably, and that's class to kick off the season. So good luck to the Portadown players on Friday night against Glenavon. We're all fully behind you. I'll leave it there. I was going to throw in something negative about Glenavon, but listen, they know they're the bridesmaids. They know they haven't won the league since who knows when. You know, tanked them 4-2 at the start of last season. Should be easy enough on Friday night, really.
I hope you haven't scotted it now, boy. Well, listen, before we go, Dave, thank you as always. I shall see you on Friday night. Michael, thanks very much for coming on the show, and hopefully we'll have you on again during the season. So before we go, just like to say thank you to everyone that listens to the show, and if you'd like to subscribe to the We Are Ports TV YouTube channel, and you can check out some class content there, and also you'll find it on different social media platforms. So cheerio folks, and see you at Shamrock Park on Friday, and all being well, see you next Tuesday. Cheers.
On the ports.